What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to continue with the African American fight series with a fighter. I have him ranked the best middleweight fighter of all times, Holman Williams, outside of Charlie Burley. Holman Williams was a dynamic fighter. I am going to show you why. He was born in Pensacola, Florida, January 30th, 1915. He fought out of Detroit, Michigan. He died, unfortunately, in Akron, Ohio, July 2nd, 1967. Holman Williams was a middleweight that stood 5 foot 10 and a half inches and had a 71-inch reach. Now, Holman Williams had the same managers as Joe Louis, Julian Black, and Jock Roxborough. Now, John Roxborough played the numbers. He was a number runner, among other things. He had Harlem sewed up for a short bit before Bumpy Johnson took over. Bumpy Johnson, as you know, well, I'll just leave that one alone, but Bumpy Johnson was a Harlem runner. The total bouts of Holman Williams' career was 189. He won 146, lost 31. He had 11 draws, 36 knockouts. He was only stopped 3 times, considering the fighters that he fought. He fought all the murderous road fighters you can find. And what's amazing about Holman Williams is that he had 1,627 rounds of fighting experience. And at the time that he fought, you had the greatest fighters of all times. He would fight Little Tiger Aaron Wade. At the time, Little Tiger Aaron Wade had a record of 59-4. He would defeat Little Tiger Aaron Wade. He would fight Archie Moore twice. November 26, 1945 and January 24, 1946. At that time, Archie Moore had a fight record of 75-11-5. 74-10-5. Somewhere about those 2 years. Burt Littell, he fought 3 times. He had a draw, a win, and a loss with Burt Littell. He fought Coco Kid. Coco Kid, probably, 9 times he fought Coco Kid. You're going to see all that in a moment. He would fight Kid Tenaro. I have Kid Tenaro as a middleweight fighter. At the time, Kid Tenaro had a record of 85-23. He would face Jose Basora. He fought him several times. He fought him March 3rd, 1948, March 11th, 1947. He would face Sam Baruti. At the time, Sam Baruti had a fight record of 26-4-2. He would lose to Sam Baruti on October 14th, 1946. Sam Baruti unfortunately fought as a Charles and was knocked out in the ring, and he died. He used to train in Stillman's gym, and he used to walk in the gym saying, "I'm hitting hard today," and he would spar with every single body in the gym. Just the way Sam Baruti was. He was quite a character. He would face O'Neal Bell. Holman Williams would face O'Neal Bell. He was from Detroit. He was a rugged fighter. He reminds me of Iran the Blade Barkley. That's the type of fighter and the type of character O'Neal Bell was and had. At the time, O'Neal Bell had a fight record of 19-7-4. He would defeat O'Neal Bell November 28th, 1947. He would face middleweight champion. At the time, he wasn't the champion, but he would be a middleweight champion, Marcel Sedan. At the time, Marcel Sedan had a fight record of 94-2-0. He would lose to Marcel Sedan. He would face Jake LaMotta. Jake LaMotta would be a middleweight champion. Not at the time, he fought Jake LaMotta. At the time, Jake LaMotta had a fight record of 58-10-3. He would lose to Jake LaMotta. He would face hard-punching Bob Satterfield. Bob Satterfield was new in the game. And Bob Satterfield at the time had a fight record of 12-1-1. And he would defeat Bob Satterfield. Bob Satterfield was one of the hardest punchers in that division. And Bob Satterfield was more of a light heavyweight, but he fought all heavyweights. He fought Jake LaMotta as well, so he went up and down in weight. He would face Paul Lewis. At the time, Paul Lewis had a fight record of 34-9-10. He would defeat Paul Lewis on April 27th, 1944. And Paul Lewis was the younger brother of John Henry Lewis, who was the light heavyweight champion of the world. John Henry Lewis took the title away from Bob Olin in 1935. And he would lose the title in 1939 due to no fault of his own, doctor's discretion of an eye injury. He would face Lloyd Marshall several times. He fought him June 7th, 1944 and July 11th, 1944. He would fight Jack Chase 4 times. He would defeat Jack Chase 4 times. He would fight Eddie Booker. At the time, Eddie Booker had a fight record of 65-5-8. And he would lose to Eddie Booker. He would fight Charlie Burley several times. Probably 9 times. He would fight Young Jing Buffalo. He would fight Mike Belois. Phenomenal. Mike Belois would be champion. He would face Izzy Genazzo. have a draw with him. Outstanding fighter was Izzy Genazzo. So I'm going to show you his record, but let's just go over this real quick. Aaron Little Tiger Wade, Murderers Row fighter. Archie Moore, Murderers Row fighter at the time before he became champion in 1952 when he defeated Joey Maxim. Joey Maxim took the title away from Freddie Mills. Joey Maxim was a phenomenal light heavyweight. Archie Moore took the title from him. Archie Moore should have had that light heavyweight championship 10 years before that. He would face Burt Littell, Murderers Row middleweight. He would face Coco Kid, Murderers Row welterweight. Kid Tenaro, I have him as a Murderers Row fighter, welterweight. He would face a middleweight in Jake LaMotta, champion. Marcel Sedan, champion. Lloyd Marshall, Murderers Row heavyweight and light heavyweight. Jack Chase, Murderers Row middleweight. Eddie Booker, Murderers Row fighter, welterweight, middleweight. He would face Charlie Burley, Murderers Row middleweight several times. And Charlie would go up to the light heavyweight division. So let's take a look at Holman Williams' fight career. Now we're going to go over this quickly. Holman Williams, born January 30th, 1912, Pensacola, Florida. He was a middleweight who stood 5 foot 10 and a half inches. He would begin his professional debut in 1932, August 1st, placed on a card with a fighter against Joe Lynn in Detroit, Michigan, knocking him out in 6 rounds. He would face Art Smith on September 2nd, Detroit, Michigan, knocking him out in 2 rounds. Eddie Isaac, September 23rd, Detroit, Michigan. He would defeat him in 6 rounds. Eddie Pacer, October 10th, Detroit, Michigan. He would knock him out in 2 rounds. Have his first loss against Chuck Woods in Detroit, Michigan. It was an 8-round loss. It was on an undercard of a Joe Louis fight, October 12th. November 16th, he would face Lynn Henderson, Detroit, Michigan. He would defeat him in 8 rounds. 1933, August 18th, he would face Jackie Young, Detroit, Michigan, knocking him out in 4 rounds. August 24th, Soldier Dombrowski, Detroit, Michigan. He would defeat him in 6 rounds. Mickey O'Brien, Detroit. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. Frankie Palo, Detroit, Michigan. Would knock him out in 2 rounds. He would face Billy Moore, Detroit. Knock him out in 2 rounds. Cecil Lottery. He would defeat him in 6 rounds. 1934. Chick Watson, Detroit, Michigan. May 4th. Knock him out in 3 rounds. Tommy Corbett, Milwaukee. Knock him out in 3 rounds. October 11th. Battling Gizzy, Milwaukee. November 9th. He would knock him out in 1 round. Charlie Bacchino, Milwaukee. December 6th. He would knock him out in 6 rounds. 1935. Eddie Carroll, Milwaukee. Knock him out in 2 rounds on January 1st, 1935. Harry Booker, Chicago, Illinois. Who defeated him in 8 rounds. Lee Shaywood, Chicago, Illinois, knock him out in 2 rounds. I'm just going to go down the line. Billy Mackey, Chicago, knock him out in 3 rounds. Billy Vaughn, Milwaukee, defeat him in 8 rounds. Tommy Paul, Detroit, Michigan, defeat him in 10 rounds. Wesley Farrell, New Orleans, defeat him in 10 rounds. Wesley Farrell again, New Orleans, knock him out in 8 rounds. On March 31st, he would knock out K.O. White, New Orleans. Actually, he would defeat him in 12 rounds. July 2nd, Baby Tiger Flowers, Chicago, Illinois, he would knock him out in 8 rounds. Coco Kid, he would lose to him in 10 rounds on September 22nd, 1935. Chuck Woods, October 2nd, Detroit, Michigan, he would defeat him in 10 rounds. Andy Bundy, St. Louis, October 30th, he would defeat him in 8 rounds. 1936, March 13th, Coco Kid, New Orleans, lose to him in 10 rounds. April 17th, Coco Kid, New Orleans, lose to him in 10 rounds. Roger Shea, Pittsburgh, knock him out in 2 rounds. Richie Fontaine, New York City, 10-round draw. That's October 6th. October 19th, Wesley Martin, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he would defeat him in 5 rounds. November 28th, Ray Nash, New York City, knock him out in 3 rounds. 1937, look at the schedule. January 8th, Tony Falco, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, he would defeat him in 10 rounds. He would lose to Johnny Lucas in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would lose to him in 8 rounds. That's on an undercard, February 7th. And as you can see, he would face Coco Kid. He would face slugger Luther White. or they called him Luther Slugger White. New Orleans, he would knock him out in 4 rounds. He would defeat Coco Kid, 10 rounds, on March 12, 1937. Lose Coco Kid in New Orleans, he would lose to him in 15 rounds June 11th. Paulie Walker, another good fighter, New York, he would defeat him in 8 rounds. All victories, you see here, Gene Buffalo, another good fighter, New Orleans, defeat him in 10 rounds. Reno Fernandez, Chicago, defeat him in 10 rounds. 1938, all victories, 1 loss. Kid Franceschi, Baltimore, he would lose to him in 10 rounds, July 11th, 1938. 1939, I want you to look at this schedule. Wildcat O'Connor, Scranton, Pennsylvania, would defeat him in 10 rounds on January 18th, 1939. January 25th, 1939, he would face Eddie Booker, New York City, have a 6-round draw. Eddie Booker was a murderous old fighter. You can see all victories at this point. Jackie Burke, another good fighter, Scranton, Pennsylvania, defeat him in 10 rounds, March 19th. Bobby Seaman, Los Angeles, California, would defeat him in 6 rounds, April 17th, 1939. Ralph Gizzi, Clarksburg, West Virginia, he would knock him out in 4 rounds. Johnny Jackson, New Orleans, defeat him in 10 rounds. Gene Buffalo, New Orleans, knock him out in 5 rounds. Carl Dell, New York City, he would defeat him in 6 rounds. Charlie Burley, New Orleans, he would defeat him in 15 rounds. Izzy Genazzo, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 10-round draw. Let's go back to Tommy Mollis, New Orleans, knocking him out in 4 rounds. 1940, Coco Kid, he starts the year off. January 11th, 1940, he would lose to him in 15 rounds. Izzy Genazzo, March 27th, Scranton, Pennsylvania, he would defeat him in 10 rounds. He would get a victory January 25th in Baltimore, 12-round victory as well. He would face Izzy Genazzo again September 4th, Washington, D.C., lose to him in 10 rounds. He would face Eddie Dolan, Scranton, Pennsylvania, defeat him in 10 rounds, October 29th. 1941, January 31st, Cat Robinson, New York City, he would defeat him in 6 rounds. February 17th, Frankie Britt, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, knock him out in 4 rounds. Gene Buffalo, March 21st, Detroit, Michigan, defeat him in 8 rounds. March 27th, Gene Buffalo again. Baltimore, Maryland, he would defeat him in 10 rounds. This is fascinating, to say the least. May 13th, Antonio Fernandez, Philadelphia, he would defeat him in 8 rounds. May 23rd, Jimmy Lato, another good fighter, Washington, D.C., defeat him in 6 rounds. I'm going to tell you something in a minute. June 18th, Antonio Fernandez, New York City, defeat him in 6 rounds. Now, I want to explain something to you. This fighter right here, Antonio Fernandez, you remember that big bully that was in your school, that was punching real hard, that everybody was afraid of? He was just a street thug. That was Antonio Fernandez. And he fought him twice in 1 year. Defeated him twice, but he got back in the ring with him. I don't know. I'm trying to explain this to you. Jose Basara, New York City, defeat him in 6 rounds. September 29th. Rand Jackson, New Orleans, defeated him in 10 rounds. Ernest Cat Robinson, another good fighter, New Orleans, defeated him in 10 rounds. Coco Kid, Baltimore, Maryland, 10-round draw. 1942, January 9th, Jose Basora, start the year off with Jose Basora, New York City. He would defeat him in 6 rounds. January 19th, fascinating, 10 days later, Coco Kid, Baltimore, Maryland. So he went from New York, went to Baltimore, or went to Maryland, defeated him in 12 rounds. Then he went to Minneapolis. Another month later, Charlie Burley, murderous old fighter, Minneapolis. He would lose to him in 10 rounds. He'd get right back in there March 2nd, 1942 against Coco Kid again in Baltimore. Lose to him in 15 rounds. That's for the colored middleweight championship. Kid Tornero, Baltimore, Maryland, defeated him in 12 rounds. March 27th, Coco Kid, New York City, lost to him in 6 rounds. Charlie Burley, Cincinnati, Ohio, lost to him in 10 rounds. Randy Brown, July 10th, New Orleans, knocked him out in 5 rounds. July 24th, Lorenzo Strickland, New Orleans, defeated him in 10 rounds. I'm going to show you these fighters. Johnny Jackson, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, defeated him in 10 rounds. Charlie Burley, New Orleans, he was stopped in 9 rounds. Then we get right back in the October, that was August 14th. October 16th, he would fight Charlie Burley again in New Orleans and defeat him in 15 rounds. December 16th, R.J. Lewis, New Orleans, he would defeat him in 12 rounds. 1943, look at the schedule. January 15th, Coco Kid, Murderers Row fighter, New Orleans, lost him in 12 rounds. See now, these Murderers Row fighters, these other fighters wasn't fighting them. Or if they had a fight, if Murderers Row fighters fought, they were told they had to not punch hard or carry the other fighter and that kind of thing. Those are a lot of the losses you see. But they were fighting each other. They were fighting each other. And these are some of the greatest fighters of all time. January 24th, Harold Smith, New Orleans, defeated him in 10 rounds. February 19th, Roosevelt Thomas, New Orleans, he defeated him in 10 rounds. Charlie Burley, May 14th, Hollywood, California, or North Carolina, defeated him in 10 rounds. Kid Tornero, Havana, lost to him in 10 rounds. Jose Basora, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, lost to him in 10 rounds. Joe Carter, look at this, Eddie Booker, another Murderers Row fighter, defeated him in 10 rounds. Steve Belois, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, defeated him in 10 rounds. So he would face, I'm just counting up, he would face 4 Murderers Row fighters in 1 year. 1944. I just want to show you something. Let me go back for a second. Let me go his whole career again. All right. Look at 1935. Look how many times he fought. All right. He ended in October. 1936, he gets back in March, ends in November. 1937, he starts fresh in January. Right. Fights once a week. Ends in October. 1938. Fights from January to November. 1939, January to May to December. Okay? 1940, fights the whole year. 41. All right? This is still 41. Look at 42. Look at all these fights. Look at the quality of fighters he's fighting. 1943, look at all these fights. 1944, can't fit this in my camera. 1935. This is crazy. 1945, Coco Kid, New York, March 26th. He lost him in 10 rounds. April 24th, Oscar Boyd, Buffalo, defeated him in 10 rounds. May 8th, Presley Hall, another good fighter, Buffalo, defeated him in 8 rounds. Coco Kid, May 14th, Baltimore, defeated him in 12 rounds. So he defeated Coco Kid. Samson Powell, good fighter, Joe Carter. These are all victories and draws from this point on. He got knocked out one time by Archie Moore, November 26th, and it was an 11-round knockout. But he fought Archie Moore October 22nd, and Baltimore, he defeated Archie Moore in 10 rounds. But he would defeat everybody else and have one draw. The draw was Burt Littell in New Orleans, August 17th. But he would beat Joe Carter, Coco Kid, Charlie Burley, Johnny Green, Burt Littell, Jimmy G, Burt Littell again. I mean, phenomenal. So I just wanted to give you an overview look of Holman Williams. This is Holman Williams. I have him the greatest Murderers Row fighter of all times. That's just my personal opinion. Let's take a look at Holman Williams and Coco Kid. He fought Coco Kid. Coco Kid won 9 times. Williams won 3 times, and there were 2 draws. Okay? I'm just going to show you this. I'm not going to read this off to you. This is Coco Kid and Holman Williams. Now, Charlie Burley. Charlie Burley won 3. Williams won 3. And it was 1 no contest, so they fought 7 times. Now, I'm going to show you some of the opponents that Holman Williams faced. All right, now this is Jose Basora. Now, Holman Williams fought Jose Basora on March 3rd, 1948. At the time, Jose Basora had a record of 62-11-5. And he would fight Jose Basora again March 11th, 1947. At the time, Jose Basora had a fight record of 65-11-5. But this is a phenomenal fighter, Jose Basora. Jose Basora would face Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, this is one of the best Puerto Rican fighters that fought in them years. And Holman Williams was in there several times with him. I think he was in there with him actually 3 times or so. But I just wanted to show you Jose Basora. This is Lorenzo Strickling. I showed you him in another video. But that was another Holman Williams opponent. Lorenzo Strickling was a very good fighter. As you can see here, colored world middle and light heavyweight champion. Lorenzo Strickling. Now I want to show you Sam Baruti. This is Sam Baruti. Sam Baruti, unfortunately, was in a bout with Ezzard Charles. Ezzard Charles hit him with a straight right hand. And then Sam Baruti died in the ring. But this is Sam Baruti, another Holman Williams opponent. Just wanted to show you him. I'm just digging in some of these scrapbooks I have here. At the time Sam Baruti faced Holman Williams, he had a fight record of 26-4-2. He fought on October 14th, 1946. That's Sam Baruti. And he would lose to Sam Baruti. Sam Baruti was a fantastic fighter. He used to come in Stillman's gym and telling everybody he's hitting hard today. I mean, as soon as he walked in. And it got to a point where Lou Stillman just kind of accepted it because he was one of them guys that tried to keep everything under control. But everybody liked Sam Baruti. He was one of those characters that he would just joke around a lot. But he would get in there and spar with everybody. Heavyweights, welterweights, middleweights. And he would fight on a lot of undercards. But he was a fantastic fighter with Sam Baruti. R.I.P. to him. But I just wanted to show you Sam Baruti. Now, I showed you this fighter before, but this is O'Neal Bell. He would face Detroit's O'Neal Bell. O'Neal Bell was a very hard puncher. A phenomenal fighter. And at the time, O'Neal Bell had a fight record of 19-7-4. He fought him November 28th, 1947. A very, very good puncher. He reminds me of Iran the Blade Barkley. I always said that. He was a very hard, two-fisted puncher. Fought anybody. Never turned down a fight. Was always begging for fights. Today, he would have had no problem being a unified champion. No problem at all. Of course, this is Archie Moore. Archie Moore would be a light heavyweight champion of the world. Taking the title away from Joey Maxim in 1952. Fascinating Archie Moore. Ancient Archie, as they considered him, the old mongoose. This is Coco Kid, Murderer's Row fighter. He has several fights, as I showed you with Coco Kid. Coco Kid was a fantastic fighter. Do you think he would have had a problem with fighters today? Coco Kid, one of the world's greatest welterweight fighting out of New Haven. Fascinating fighter was Coco Kid. Here, I wanted to show you Paul Lewis. This is the brother of John Henry Lewis. John Henry Lewis was a light heavyweight champion. This is Paul Lewis. I talk about him a lot, but I never showed him to you. California bantamweight. And he went up to middleweight. Fascinating. Or welterweight, excuse me. Paul Lewis. And here you have Charlie Burley. My second greatest Murderer's Row fighter of all times was Charlie Burley. Fantastic fighter, Charlie Burley. Just a few fighters I wanted to show you. So I just want to salute Holman Williams, obviously he's going on my Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I have him as the greatest murderer fighter. That's just my opinion. It's all subjective. Charlie Burley, I have him number 2. Coco Kid, I have him number 3. But this is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I just entered Holman Williams in the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. That's an honorable mention. And he is the fighter of the Murderous Rose. So salute to my subscribers. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Peace. One love. Peace.